Evolution. It's the evidence for all life. Hi, welcome to Vlogumentary. In this show, we will sit down and discuss science-related topics. I'm your host, Cameron Butler. Today's topic is evolution. There are lots of theories and speculations for evolution. One theory is natural selection, that was created by Charles Darwin many years ago. Another is DNA testing. Now, this was not in Darwin's time, so he didn't have anything to do with this. Another piece of evidence for evolution is fossils. Fossils can prove where and how we evolved from those specific animals. Other pieces of evidence include homologous, analogous, and vestigial structures. I'll get into vestigial structures later. But homologous structures have different appearances with the same function. You can compare a human arm to a whale fin. They have carpals and other bone structures that are alike and do the same thing. Now, there are many misconceptions to evolution. One being that it causes organisms to improve, which means their life gets better over time. Now, this is definitely not true. They can change, but they have to do that in order to survive. And with those survivors comes new issues and struggles for those that do survive. Another common misconception is evolution not being observable. This is also very false. And here's where the vestigial structures come into play. Now, we can observe vestigial structures, which are those structures that are not being used anymore in your body, such as a human's tailbone and your wrist, actually. So, to see this, tailbones for humans suggest that we once had tails. The tendons in our wrists suggest that we used to climb trees, which is why I can point out that apes have very common ancestors with us. Common ancestors are a very important part of evolution as well. Fossils have much to do with this because it is a physical piece of being, and you can observe it. You can also test it with some, obviously, tests that scientists run to see how old it is and where it came from. Come here, mister. DNA testing also, with bones and with the same fossils, can prove what the amino acid structures are and how they differ from each animal. That can also suggest a common ancestor and how close they are to being the same. And that can suggest what homologous or analogous structures you have in common. Another misconception of evolution are gaps that are disproven. Gaps disprove evolution is a misconception. Now, gaps may appear in evolution, but inevitably they all lead to the back to a same common ancestor. Misconceptions for natural selection. People think that with natural selection comes the animals that try to adapt. But natural selection, however, is just basic survival of the fittest. An example of trying to adapt could be giraffes. Now, there is a misconception that giraffes tried to grow their necks in order to eat, but that's not the case. Giraffes with longer necks obviously survived because they could eat from the tall trees, the leaves, and they survived. So they had offspring that had longer necks so that they could survive. Another misconception of natural selection is that natural selection is the only way populations change over time. That is not true whatsoever. There is another way, and that is called artificial selection. Now, artificial selection is the changing of genes of animals in order to fit certain needs, or just simply for our needs. Such as this dog right here, my little buddy right here. Come here. You see him? He's playing. Now, he is a shepherd mixed with a terrier, which makes him look like a shepherd, which shepherds are usually taller, but since he's a terrier, he's short. So it's kind of strange, and it makes him more aggressive, and it's not for a certain reason. Now, there are some dogs who are used for hunting, such as bloodhounds. And there are shepherds, like him, who are used on farms to herd sheep. And they bite at your ankles so that they either annoy you or just to herd the sheep in general. That's basically what artificial selection is, and when those animals reproduce, it keeps those genes in line. And it's all evolution. That's how we all evolve. Right. Thank you for joining me on this vlogumentary, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.